Hello, everyone. Welcome. It is Monday. It is time for revolutionary change. I'm Jen Perelman.
I'm Peter Hager, and Jen, maybe, just maybe, there is some karmic justice in the world.
I don't know.
A little bit.
I don't know. I'm going to need some proof of that.
Okay, here's some proof.
It is nice. And I did not follow this. You know, I'm not into these sporty games, but anything that is a fuck you to the people that I hate pleases me. So, and fuck Argentina.
Well, if there's anybody in the Spanish community that we are extremely happy for, it is Javier Bardem, who made it a point to attend, I believe, all of the games. Basically followed the team around the entire country, and of course was there at the Meadowlands. And I mean, if you think about recognizable faces in the United States and on the global scale that have been outspoken about Israel and the genocide against the Palestinians, Javier Bardem is as up there as anybody you could think of. And so for him to have this moment for the world is extremely gratifying. I'm going to attempt to read this in Spanish, see how good I can do.
I don't know. We'll...
Colin, blow it up a little, please.
Oh my God. Look at how, oh my God.
Talk about happy.
First of all, look how huge this guy is, whoever this football player is. Because I'm sure he's somebody famous. I don't know, guys. But I know that Javier Bardem is tall.
Yes.
Javier Bardem is not short. He's over 6 feet tall.
Yeah, he's about 6'2".
Okay. So that's what I'm saying. It's like he's a tall guy.
Yeah. Un grupo de jugadores que representan la diversidad de España y el apoyo por el respeto a los derechos de colectivos y de pueblos que necesitan voz. So basically,
gracias por vuestro ejemplo de juego de equipo de unión infrequable como colectivo de elegancia y deportividad. Ese sí es el ejemplo que todos celebramos para los millones.
Would you like?
Well, but it doesn't have it. I mean, I know.
Intentionally cut me off. I mean, was that the plan?
Oh, I thought you just didn't want to read the Spanish anymore.
No, I actually was just trying to explain to people what it is that we were reading. That's all I was trying to.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I was trying to give people an idea of what he was actually saying, but I guess we'll just have to run through it and then we'll go over it.
Well, I know what he's saying.
Millones de niños en el mundo que esperan con ojos de ilusión y futuro. Gracias por hacernos sentir tan orgullosos de pertenecer al mismo país que también representáis. I can't see that, Colin. Gotta move.
You guys are the champions of the world.
Or the rightful champions of the world. Basically, what he's saying and saw and said throughout this is they were an incredible example of collectivism for sport, for elegance. Their representation for the world is incredible in this moment. Mentions that their grupo, which is handsome. Yeah, very well deserved. And this is just one of many examples of what actually went down. Now, we do have some moments to share, but I think it is very important to understand that while Spain obviously has been at the forefront of speaking out, remember, Ireland was the first country to say that Israel was committing crimes against humanity and followed through as such through the International Criminal Court. The second country was Spain. So they've been on this from the beginning. And here is what Argentina's #1 fan had to say prior to the game.
לא תשתוק מול מי שתוקף אותנו. ספרד הכפישה את גיבורנו, את חיילי צה"ל, חיילי הצבא המוסרי ביותר בעולם. ולכן הנחיתי היום לסלק את נציגי ספרד ממרכז התיאום בקריית גת, לאחר שספרד בחרה שוב ושוב להתייצב נגד ישראל.
Hmm.
There has been a hot debate earlier today about whether or not, because evidently this fuck is planning on defying the mayor of New York City and coming to New York.
I would like him to do that. I would like that to happen. I think it's an opportunity. It's an opportunity for Zoran, but I just don't see it getting to that point.
He's made it very clear that if he steps foot in New York's proper, he will have him arrested. That is his intention. So kudos to Zoran. I mean, listen, Zoran's been doing great work, and not going to say he doesn't have his flaws, but overall, he's definitely a net positive without question.
I would be shocked if Tish would arrest this person. I would be shocked.
Maybe this would be the opportunity to get Tish out of the position, because she might actually have to resign before she would do something like that.
Well, maybe, but I just don't see it getting that far. What I think is that he won't come.
I think so. Well,
if he thinks there's a chance of that, he won't come.
And we agree, David. Obviously, the lunacy of what sports has become is beyond the pale at this point. That being said, I think Mamdani is daring him to come. I think he's daring him. He's like, oh, you really think I wouldn't do it? I'll watch. He's daring him. He's like, say, come on. And if you don't come, you're a fucking coward. That's what he's telling.
מי שתוקף את מדינת ישראל במקום את משטרי הטרור, מי שעושה זאת לא יהיה שותף שלנו לגבי עתיד האזור. אני לא מוכן לסבול את הצביעות הזאת ואת העוינות הזאת. אני לא מתכוון לאפשר לאף מדינה לנהל נגדנו מלחמה מדינית בלי לשלם על כך מחיר מיידי.
We're shaking in our boots, Milikowski. It's interesting watching him talk about hypocrisy. It's really, this to me almost presents like an Onion AI video, because it's so off the wall that this psychotic fuck is sitting here talking about Spain in some way to intimate that they are problematic. Yes, Spain's the problem.
Yeah, Spain did the entire world an incredible service, an incredible favor. And there's lots of clips. I mean, listen, there's a clip of Ben Gavir cheering on Argentina. There's
Good.
Of Netanyahu doing the same. And we're going to get to those raving lunatics in a minute. But there are moments in sports that capture the imagination of what's good in the world. And here's one of them.
Now, while I do not appreciate sporty games to the level that a lot of you might, I do appreciate very good-looking men running around in shorts. That I appreciate. So continue.
Yes, they certainly had their...
Seriously, I can get with this. Yeah.
I mean, how could you not? And I think I know, Colin, I need you to keep up on the clips as much as you can, because I want to make sure. I think I sent you, I don't know if I sent you the one with the Argentinian players not exactly being too happy about losing this match. In fact, they got pretty feisty about it. Oh, you look pretty good in that position, Messi, I have to tell you. Like when you bent over and kissed the fucking wall. That is never going to be forgotten. Ever.
Oh, that's Messi. I know the name, but I wouldn't know him if I banged into him.
The truth of the matter is this. He is one of the greatest, if not the greatest, to ever play the game. But all of that doesn't matter now, because the lasting image of him as a professional soccer player, as a professional football player internationally, this is it. It's over. His legacy has been completely tarnished because of his affiliation with Israel.
Good.
And embraces it wholeheartedly.
Well, the other team people were cuter anyway. The other boys were cuter. Go back to the other boys.
Let me tell you, the look of despair on his face, he really can't hide it. Yeah, it's a shame, Messi. And everything you ever did everything you ever did. And let me remind you, people who may not know this, but I do because I'm in real estate. Do you know where Lionel Messi lives? Do you know where he lives? He lives in Broward County, Florida, because of course he does. Because where else would he go? He would go to where the rich Zios live, because that's what a lot of Argentinians are. That's what a lot of we call it Westenzuela, that whole enclave of.
You do realize that Venezuela and Argentina are separate countries, right?
They are.
They are. I'm seeing a whole bunch of people in the chat saying that they were like sore losers, and I'm curious if something in particular happened.
Yes, it did. I know I sent this to Colin, but I'm going to have to send it again. So just bear with me for one second.
So we have sore losers as well. So from my understanding, what you've been saying to me is that these entire games have been biased towards Ziohel and Argentina. And despite that, Spain won. Is that what I'm understanding? So these guys had all the benefits and all the advantages anyway, and they lost, and now they're pissed.
So here's what ended up happening. 5 minutes before the game-winning goal was scored, there was a goal that was scored by Spain, and they took it off the board. They claimed that there was they call it a yellow card, which is basically an infraction on a particular player. And if you watch the play again, and one of the reasons why a lot of people do not like men's soccer, in fact, a lot of people prefer women's soccer to men's soccer, is because there is a lot of flopping in men's soccer. They tend to over-exaggerate, act like they were shot out of a cannon, got hurt, etc. And
you're suggesting that men do not seem as, I don't know, hardy as the women, is what you're saying?
That's always been the reputation.
Anyone shocked?
No, definitely not in this case, because it has been suggested that Argentina in 2026 is one of the weakest teams to ever make the final. That the path that they were given was almost like rolling out the carpet. The competition was not legitimate in terms of what they should have had to go through until they got to the semifinals against England. And
so you're saying that the series was sort of stacked for them?
1,000%.
Okay.
And so the thing about England, as has always been the case of our British brethren, they are noted choke artists in the World Cup. This is going back decades. And so they had the lead late against Argentina, and then they managed to blow it. Fuck Israel, fuck Argentina. I like that. I can get with that very goodly. It's what we love about our audience. They're always so very correct. Very
I know.
Creative in that regard. So,
I know. I love our chat. You guys always have like really good stuff. I've used some of this stuff, and I always credit the chat.
Now, much like Israel, in the lame, sore loser bastards that they are, and we'll have plenty of that to get to this evening. This is the reaction. The reaction right as the match concluded. It's called a match. Once the match concluded, this is what some of the Argentinian players started to do.
How much you want to bet that they're talking political shit down there?
1,000%. Someone probably went up to, this is what I think happened. This is my opinion.
Yeah.
But I think one of the players on Spain went up to one of the Argentinians and looked him right in the face and said, "Viva la Palestina." And it probably, again, they both speak Spanish. So you know they were speaking Spanish to each other. That's why not everybody's necessarily reporting what it was that they was actually conversing with. But you know that somebody probably said, "Free Palestine, fuck Israel, and fuck you." Someone probably said that, and that set them off. Hey, it's your problem, dude.
Yeah, I think it does seem that way from whatever I've ever seen in the past with soccer, they don't seem to be violent after matches. Like I have not seen that, I always thought it was much more. So that to me intimates that it probably was some sort of political confrontation and not about just being a sore loser. Although it could, who knows?
I mean, look, the whole world was watching. There's no question. There was no getting away from the fact that this was pure poetry in motion. This was Spain representing Palestine and Argentina literally representing Israel.
Football. But I mean, we do talk about American football here. And so I feel like I do know that football, what you're talking about is football. I do know that. But if I don't make a distinction, I don't know. I know.
There has been reports repeatedly throughout the course. I mean, listen, FIFA is as corrupt to the teeth as any organization in the history of sport that has ever existed. And they have been very clear that anybody who's been watching the World Cup, and again, I've watched it to a degree, and what has been universally said amongst all neutral fans is that there has been a deliberate favoritism towards Argentina.
Shocking.
The entire time. So to say that there was this sort of home field advantage, if you will, that they had to go through, there's no question. But the sight, and again, we're not going to play it because it's silly. The sight of Trump first having to hand Spain the trophy, knowing that he was there. Let me tell you, I know we get into like superstitious suggestions about what is and what isn't regarding whether somebody really is the kiss of death. Let me tell you something. If Trump is rooting for you and he shows up to the arena to support your team, trust me when I tell you, bet the fucking farm on the other team. That is as good of a bet as you're ever going to get because he really is the kiss of death. If he's rooting for you, that means you're going to lose. Like I am as convinced of that as anything. Egypt should have been in the final. Egypt was robbed of their right to move on. And the coach on Egypt did not mince words regarding Palestine and Israel. There are good people out there. In fact, the whole world is rejecting the Zionist cause, as you know. Now, with that being said, if you think that the Argentinian players fucked up, why don't you take a gander at what the Argentinian fans in Times Square were like, who didn't actually get to attend the game, but they were, a few miles away, big crowd in New York City.
Where was this game?
It was at the Meadowlands.
Oh.
Here's how some of them reacted when this went down.
He's raising a flag today. Let's learn to get along. We're going to get along. It's freedom. Everybody's here. It's a protected speech. If you don't like it, write a congressman.
Yeah, but that won't work, right? I mean, thank
you
for the advice, Pig, but it won't work.
You got to give credit to a member of the NYPD who basically said, your bullshit ain't working here. Like, I ain't got time for that shit. And the one thing I could tell you from personal experience with the NYPD, whether anybody here can speak to this, David Hunter or anybody else who's in New York, generally speaking, and I'm talking New York City police officers, NYPD in New York City in general don't like dealing with petty shit. They don't waste their time on that stuff. So when somebody like this Argentinian fruitcake decides to start giving him an earful about, he's waving that flag and I don't feel safe around it, he told him to go fuck himself, which is what everyone should do. Every last one of these sons of bitches is going to have to eat it for a long time.
So where are they? In Times Square?
Mm-hmm.
So this is just people celebrating who just watched it on the screen, I guess, is what we're...
Yeah. And they don't like it. Oh, I know. They're so sad. They're so sad when somebody shows up with a Palestinian flag. I tell you, they're going to need some serious therapeutic sessions to get over this. Oh, Lord.
I understand that, but you understand what you're doing is inflammatory, so you have to understand where they're coming from.
Are you fucking crazy? You understand that this is inflammatory. I think what has happened is that they've come under this illusion that even though we're becoming somewhat of a lawless society right now, at least for the elites anyway, that somehow they make the rules. And if they get upset and they tell you to go arrest somebody because I'm a Zio bastard and I don't want to see them waving that flag because it offends me.
It's so scary.
Well,
let this finish.
It really is a beautiful flag when you think about it. Now,
well, the fact that it pisses people off to me is just a bonus.
And we'll conclude on this note. This was Gaza City right after Spain won the cup. Just
they know what's up. They know who's who.
Yeah. Just look at that image. Look at the power of this image. This image is showing you the Spain flag flying amongst all the rubble, amongst all of the destruction, what they've done to these people, what they have done to this culture, what they have done to humanity. In some respects, that flag, that's like the Soviet Union flag flying over Berlin. That they may not have their victory this moment in terms of being done with Israel altogether, but there is something inherently special and cathartic for the Palestinians to have this moment, to know that Spain was fighting on their behalf.
I mean, think about that for a second, like how the juxtaposition of them holding this flag versus the guy in Times Square holding the Palestinian flag and the interconnectedness.
Yeah.
It's all connected. But I don't think anyone's we've never seen it interconnected as much as we're seeing it now.
Well, not only that, but what you have to remember is that we have always said this has always been, and it always will be, a class war. And so you have, on the one hand, the spoiled, wealthy Argentinians losing their collective shit because somebody was waving a Palestinian flag. Then you go to Gaza City, in the ruins, place where people are living in tents and are dealing with famine and disease. You know, the chickenpox outbreak that's going on there right now that's killing babies. And yet for one moment in time, for just one shining moment in time, they can forget that they're living in hell on earth. That we know that this is something that Spain did for humanity, because this is a massive PR hit for Israel. Everyone knows that that's what it is. In fact, Argentina and Israel, because they're one and the same now as far as I'm concerned, they would have been better off losing in an earlier round. This was the most lucrative and watched sporting event ever. And there is no disconnecting these two elements. Zero.
Really? More than like Super Bowls and stuff? This game?
This particular match made more money than any sporting event in history. Which really goes to show you how big of a deal it really is, because at the end of the day, American football is still American football. This is international football. So the entire world, the global South, multiple billion people saw this. And if you think,
I know that soccer is bigger worldwide. I know that. I'm talking about this particular event televised versus a Super Bowl televised in terms of that viewership. So no, I do know soccer is much more popular globally. Absolutely. I just wasn't, and I don't know that any FIFA games have outperformed the Super Bowl in terms of viewership. I don't know the statistics.
According to Algerian, and if you are in Algeria, God bless, 2.1 billion people witnessed this. That's incredible. Look what they did to that place. Let that be an image that you can hold onto tightly for a long time. Viva España, viva la Palestina. Fuck Israel and free Palestine. And speaking of fuck Israel, Jen, you have, it's amazing. It's like every show, every live stream we do now, we have to bring up your friend David Spivak and uncover this very telling story regarding Haley Stevens and what exactly does the Israel lobby do? And guys, you know, Jen and I have made it a point to emphasize to stop saying or referring to it as AIPAC. AIPAC is one of dozens of NGOs within the Israel lobby conglomerate.
Correct.
J Street, the ADL, DMFI, Kufi. These are all connected to the Israel cause, to the Zionist cause. So when people say AIPAC, just remember, there is a political gamesmanship being orchestrated on behalf of Israel. That's why we are highly critical of somebody like Ro Khanna, who has taken hundreds of thousands of dollars from J Street.
Same difference, people.
Same thing.
People don't know all of those groups, all of the money funnels to the JNF essentially goes to, it's all the same place. Israel is a very small country. So all of that money essentially is going to the same place. It doesn't matter what the name of the organization is, or if it is even an NGO. How about it's just law firms that are donating on behalf of certain lobbying interests? So the Israel lobby is massive. So everybody is now seemingly going to act like, oh, it's just AIPAC, sort of like how they're blaming Israel on Netanyahu. That way, the other aspects sort of go under the radar. So we're not going to let that happen. And J Street, you were just as ridiculous as anything.
Pretty much. Now, what makes this story extra juicy is that, and you've pointed this out, Jen, why was the Israel lobby on behalf of the Haley Stevens campaign reaching out to David Spivak to become a paid influencer for her campaign? What would be the motivation?
Did that? Oh my God, I'm so shocked. Guys, did you hear that? The Haley Stevens campaign is reaching out to content creators to pay them to be on her team.
Jen, wait a minute. Hold on. A timeout. I thought that Haley Stevens was growing on everybody. I thought people love to listen to her now all of a sudden.
Yeah, that's what she's doing. And that, as if that isn't such a talking point. She's growing on me. She's growing on me. She's growing
like a fungus, that's for sure.
Yeah.
Here we go.
Apparently, this is a confidential document. It's covered by an NDA. The only problem is I never actually signed an NDA.
Oops.
So, shh. Let's not tell anyone. Let's go through it together. It's an influencer brief from the Haley Stevens Senate campaign in Michigan. Right at the top, it says that the rate for this video is $1,500.
And you wonder why things are so fucked up. You wonder why you have people like Jack Posobiec on the conservative side going in front of cameras constantly, like on Piers Morgan, and saying, oh, it was definitely Tyler Robinson who assassinated Charlie Kirk. These people are paid to say this shit.
Yeah.
Exactly why people are now being paid to say Haley Stevens is the greatest senatorial candidate of all time. Listening to her talk.
She's a horrible candidate. She's a horrible candidate. I didn't know of her prior to the whole Andy Levin, AIPAC fiasco. And that was pretty particularly AIPAC going after Andy Levin, who he wasn't Zio enough. So I only know her since then, but I find her to be a horrible candidate.
Angela, we're going to get to Saeed shortly, but here's something that I want to be very clear about. And this is one of the reasons why I've always maintained that above all other reasons why the 2016 presidential primary in the Democratic Party was rigged against Bernie Sanders is because he was a vastly superior candidate to Hillary Clinton. And once he won the Michigan primary, he should have run away with the nomination because it was clear after the Miami debate that it was all him, that she was literally falling behind and he was taking a secretariat-size lead over her because the crowds showed it. The impressions showed it, no matter how much they tried to change that momentum. Oh, Hillary's great, this and that. No, she's not. And just like all the money they're going to throw at this race and say, oh, Haley Stevens is great. No, Saeed is the vastly superior candidate.
Yeah.
Now, there's a lot of bigotry out there. There's a lot. I've always said the last line of defense that the Zion Nazis have is anti-Muslim bigotry. And that might work. And I am convinced, as I'm sure you are as well, that if he does win the primary, the establishment will do everything behind the scenes to hopefully facilitate Mike Rogers to victory. They do not want to take any chances of having a guy like Saeed in the Senate.
I think he's more than a good candidate. I actually think he's special because he isn't a politician. So of course, the fact that he is so smooth, that's just a bonus. And we were talking about this earlier, Peter and I, when someone like Mamdani comes along and I'm thinking, okay, he's got a little too Obama, a little too smooth. I don't know, whatever, especially anybody who's in politics who's really smooth. But Abdul al-Said he's not a politician. He's a doctor. So this isn't somebody who's just trained to be charming. That's just the bonus, is that he happens to also be very knowledgeable and I find him charismatic. I think he's very smart and he's an excellent candidate. So, that's just my take.
So apparently that's the going rate for a do-nothing candidate. Okay, so let's quickly get to the goal. So our job is to educate and show Michigan Democrats that Haley Stevens is leading the way to fight against Donald Trump and MAGA. Okay, so let's see what we got. So the first instruction says, share a proof point where Stevens has stepped up to fight MAGA. So sure, so just like Trump, Haley Stevens says that we can't afford universal health care, affordable housing, student debt relief. But when Congress had a chance to put limits on how long the president could keep U.S. involvement in Israel's war, she voted against those limits. Meanwhile...
And isn't that really all that it's about?
Yeah.
That's
all they have. That's all she has. What else does she have?
Nothing. She's just going to try to carry the money wave. But it also goes to show you how absurd it is at this point regarding how money moves through politics, particularly as part of the Israel lobby's efforts.
American taxpayers have paid at least $29 billion, with a B, supporting Israel's war. Funny how we're always broke until it's time to fund another war. So the next instruction says, make this personal. Why does stepping up to MAGA matter to me? This is fun, isn't it? Not signing an NDA and blowing it up? Love it. So it matters to me because I believe politics should be about earning people's support, not renting it for $1,500 like Haley over here. So if you're really the fighter in this race, you shouldn't need to pay influencers to convince people. You should be able to beat Abdul on your record. Abdul is talking about healthcare, affordable housing, getting money out of politics, and taking on corporate power. Haley's campaign is sending out influencer briefs that require an NDA. So now on to my favorite part. You do not need to endorse Stevens. So think about that for a second. They're basically saying, we don't need you to believe in Haley. We just need your followers to think you do. They're not buying your vote. They're leasing your credibility. And that's really why I wanted to show you this document, because if your record speaks for itself, you don't need influencer briefs. You don't need talking points to sign an NDA, a rate sheet. You need supporters. That's the difference. Vote Abdul. He is a person that will represent you, not corporate interests and not Israel.
Yay! I love him. He's so adorable. So I've always said that about any person, any candidate that has to pay influencers is a red flag by just that fact alone. Just that fact alone. If you have to pay influencers, you're a problem.
Yeah, and listen, it doesn't mean that having influencer support doesn't matter. I'm not.
But they don't need to. If an influencer needs to be paid to support you, one, they're a whore, and two, you're a shitty candidate. Because if you are decent, then basically the content creators are going to want to support you because you're getting juice. Like, it's good. So if you have to pay for it, Jews.
Yeah, everybody has an opinion about that. Colin, I need the clip, please. If you think that you can't be bought, and again, the thing that is most telling about this election, which has always been the case.
Apparently,
we'll
this is a
confidential
confidential document. It's covered by an NDA.
You have to remember no, I didn't do that.
No, I took it out and then it went back in.
I took it out. We took it out. No, it means that we both did, and then it popped up again because when one hits it to send it out, then the other hits it and it comes back in again. Get it?
Yes, I took it out. Thank you.
There is a portion, and we're not going to play it tonight. Maybe I'll address it on Saturday. But we've already talked about the fact that you've got Senator Fetterman talking about jumping ship over to the GOP.
Bon voyage.
Yeah. We also have Bill Maher sitting down for an interview with, I forgot the gentleman's name on CBS, but basically saying, yes, as of right this moment, because of where the Democratic Party is going, I plan to vote for J.D. Vance for president. This is Bill Maher. This is Mr. Always protect the Democratic Party line. No, it is protect corporate special interests and protect Israel above everything else. That's the priority.
It's protect capital. It's protect capital. The Israel is just, that's a bonus.
So if you need, and if you need any further proof about what David Spivak just said, here is the confirmation that he's 1,000% telling the truth.
Do you think there should be conditions on the aid the United States sends to Jerusalem and Tel Aviv?
Absolutely not. I'm not for conditions, particularly in this circumstance. That's what detractors of Israel are pushing for.
When is this? When you're going to show a clip, I'd like to know when it's from, what the context.
This was from,
because it looks not recent.
Well, she looks like she's in her goth phase right now. It doesn't specify, but this just dropped actually a few hours ago. So yeah.
Interesting. Because they're not wrestling with aid right this minute. So obviously, is this, I don't even think she looks like this right now to say this is from the most recent vote.
Do you think there should be conditions on the aid the United States sends to Jerusalem and Tel Aviv?
Absolutely not. I'm not.
That's it. That's all you need to hear. And so when you see the people within the Democratic establishment, we know plenty of these people, Neera Tanden, Amy Siskind, Hillary Rosen, we can go on and on about all of the different scummy people that are within the establishment that do not care that the Democratic Party is as corporate bought and owned as the Republicans. They're just maybe not as nasty about it. Is that maybe the overarching difference between the two? And again, we know that there are people within the Democratic Party that fight for more working people causes than Republican members will. But remember, guys, the goal in politics, the overarching goal above everything else is to never get anything done, never get any legislation passed, never, ever make that change. Now, with that being said, I think we can safely say, as we've been alluding to all along, is that the reason why El-Sayed is, in our opinion, gut feeling, he's still going to pull it out, is because he's just the vastly superior candidate.
Yes.
Haley Stevens sucks.
Not only does she suck, but whatever, the merch, the picture of her signs that you sent me are bad. Like her merchandise and her marketing and her stuff is just not good. Now, I don't know if again, we've said this before, on the Democrat side, consultants can consistently lose and still get hired. So you have high-end races that are being run by consultants that have never won a race. And so their judgment and opinions lead to things like really shitty ass merchandise looking stuff. I mean, I don't know. I just think she's a horrible candidate and her campaign just looks very improperly managed.
Now let's pivot to a campaign that is properly managed, that is doing an amazing job because it has an amazing candidate.
You're somebody who wants government to work for you. I'm not dangerous. I might just be the one person running for US Senate who actually wants to serve you. But if you're the CEO of DTE, you damn well better believe I'm dangerous. If you're Blue Cross Blue Shield shareholders, yep, I'm dangerous. If you're a corporation wanting to buy a politician with their PAC, I'm dangerous. If you're AIPAC and want to send our money abroad, you damn well better believe I'm dangerous. If you're Chuck Schumer and want to keep doling out corporate money to elect people who are going to do your bidding, I am so damn dangerous.
I want to point out that he clearly has the UAW endorsement, which is nice.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously you knew that, but that had to be a big blow to the Dems up there that he got the UAW endorsement.
Mm-hmm. Listen, we've talked about this before. We talked about the fact that Sean Fain is
Maddie, this is him.
That Sean Fain is an example of a solid labor leader, whereas somebody like Randy Weingarten, who leads the teachers union, is a lousy labor leader. So when conservatives like to paint labor as corrupt and irredeemable, look, there are bad labor leaders, but there's a difference between labor leaders and labor workers. And the UAW is not only an amazing labor union that takes care of its auto workers, but they are a direct fuck you to Elon Musk and his anti-labor practices. It has been brought to our attention, as we have shared with you guys, that the average labor worker within the UAW on salary alone makes about double what a Tesla worker is making on the assembly line.
I wonder why that is. But sure, anybody who wants to go be an Elon sycophant and be so impressed that he's close to being the world's first trillionaire, right? So impressive.
Now, GQ, we're going to explain to you, as we've done many times before, why voting does matter. It's not going to solve the problem. But as we've pointed out, somebody like Zoran is a good example of him alone becoming the mayor of New York City is not going to solve the problem. But what may actually end up happening as a result of him being in power is that when people decide to start taking it to the streets and start really causing economic pain to those who really run the show, Zoran is not going to get in the way of that. Whereas somebody like Cuomo or Adams 1000% would. Now let's take it a step further and look to the senatorial race in Michigan. Do you think for 1 second that if the working class got uppity in Michigan, that Haley Stevens would not bring the fucking hammer down on them the way that Governor Whitmer would do?
Of course. Of course.
But we know
And
that
I think
Abdul's
he
trained
wouldn't.
well.
Yeah. So what we're saying is these people are not necessarily going to make massive differences in the country policy-wise, but in their respective spaces, they allow an opportunity for the people to do what they need to do. That's they're less. It's I guess a key to a gate. It's sort of like, yeah, they're not hurting us.
Now, I also want to point out that when he goes on, and we would love to have him on the podcast, but we'll attempt to get a hold of him, assuming that, knock on wood, he is able to win the primary. This is what happens when you have somebody who just is media savvy and understands what it takes to actually combat the bullshit that comes with dealing with Jake Tapeworm when he has to go on CNN.
No, because you talk about support for Israel. The New York City Mayor Zoran Mamdani just this weekend was asked by the New York Times if he thinks there's room in the party for Democrats who work with AIPAC. And Mayor Mamdani said, quote, if they are Democrats and they run as Democrats and they win as Democrats, then they should be part of the Democratic Party. When you were asked by CNN if support for Israel could be about anything other than money, you told CNN, quote, not if you're a Democrat and you believe in human rights, unquote. You also said, quote, every definition of a Jewish state ends up in some articulation of illiberal values, unquote. So it sounds as though, and correct me if I'm wrong, it sounds as though you and Mayor Mamdani disagree about how big this tent should be, whether there's room for it in the tent for Israel supporters.
Well, Jake, I'll tell you this. There's always room in the tent for folks. And I'm for human rights. I'm for equal rights to peace, dignity, and self-determination. Whatever you think about the right of Israel to exist, I wonder if they have a right to our tax dollars. And here's the thing about it. Every time I come on CNN, you guys ask me the same questions about these theoretical rights of existence or whether or not I agree with the mayor of New York. I'm running for Senate in Michigan. And in Michigan, people can't afford their basic needs. They don't get the healthcare they need and deserve. They're worried about the quality of their kids' school. And the question seems less to be about the interests of Michiganders than the fact of something happening 6,000 miles away. I'm running.
Thank you. Thank you. Oh, God, Jake Tapper is such a fucking loser.
That look on his...
He's such a fucking loser. An embarrassment. Ugh.
Now, in case you missed it,
are you putting up a hit list anytime soon? Because I'm feeling the need.
Well, this is a little bit more retro. It's a little bit more throwback. And if you remember, there is something very interesting about the state of Michigan. And Michigan
is it let me ask, is it that the people still don't have clean water? And yet that isn't even a point that the Democrats even mention?
That's one part of it. But
okay,
Michigan,
because I think it would affect my vote if I didn't have clean water.
Well, everything kind of came to a head in 2016 when Bernie changed the entire fortunes of the Democratic presidential primary when he won the Michigan primary because the citizens of Flint flipped from Hillary Clinton to Bernie Sanders. And that changed the entire trajectory. And then if you remember, the day after that primary, there was the big debate down in Miami. Mm-hmm. And there was a word that El Said was using in his Michigan stump speech that you cannot ignore. The word is dangerous. So we're going to take you back in time to Bernie's greatest moment when he ran for president.
I know. If this is what you thought I'd find charming, I don't, because now I hate Bernie, but okay.
Support vigilantes, and that is a horrific statement, an unfair statement to make. I will stand in terms of my political career, fighting for workers, fighting for the poorest people in this country. Madam Secretary, I will match my record against yours any day of the week.
Why is this important? Do you have reason to believe that she says one thing in private and another in public?
Well, what I have said is that when you get, I believe it is $225,000 for giving a speech, and she gave several speeches to Goldman Sachs, one of the Wall Street financial institutions whose greed and illegal behavior helped destroy our economy a number of years ago. When you get paid $225,000, that means that that speech must have been an extraordinarily wonderful speech.
So does this mean that you would not think she would have to disclose?
I would think that a speech so great that you got paid so much money for you would like.
Now, I just want to point this out, to always remember what an absolute psychopath this person is, because she is giving a look to him as if to say, you understand that I could kill you and I could make it look like an accident. And if I could get away with it right now, I would.
To share it with the American people. So I think she should.
The government has to quit making money off of lending money to young people to get their education.
Oh, this bitch. Oh,
Karen, let's go back to you.
I think that what Secretary Clinton just said is absolutely right. I think I said it many months before she said it, but thanks for copying a very good idea. Clearly, the Secretary's words to Wall Street has really intimidated them. And that is why they have given her $15 million in campaign contributions. There is nobody in the United States Congress who has taken on the Koch brothers who want to destroy Social Security, Medicare, Medicaid, and virtually every federal program passed since the 1930s more than Bernie Sanders. And I am proud that the gentleman who is head of Goldman Sachs, now he didn't give me $225,000 for speaking fees. He said I was dangerous, and he is right. I am dangerous for Wall Street.
Oh, Bernie. Oh,
It's
Bernie.
so disappointing. It's, you know.
That was his moment.
I'm actually not loving to play this after the Al Sayed thing because I don't want to make that comparison. I'd like to think that as someone who is not a politician and doesn't need that he is different and that there might be a better outcome than Bernie's cowardly complacency. And at the end of the day, Zionism, that is a fundamental problem that we're just never going to be able to get past.
Well, here's a reminder of what his movement really was back in 2016, why it was different, why he should have gone all the way, why he had every right and reason to start the revolution then, and he could have. But there's no question that this is just an image that I want to remind people of before we bring Kshama in. This is from when Bernie walked on stage at the convention in 16.
Thank you.
I don't want to watch. We have to watch them.
See, this man on the screen right here is an old friend of ours named Mitch Stolberg.
Oh my God.
And he, unfortunately, is not with us anymore. But he was somebody who was very near and dear to both of us. He was also somebody who was a huge help on Jen's first go-around against Wasserman Schultz. This is somebody who fought so hard for single-payer health care and who unfortunately died because of our broken healthcare system. And when I was looking through some of these clips the other day, it is a reminder of why we do what we do, why we fight for what we fight for, and why when we say that we've reached the point of no return, that there is absolutely it is unacceptable that we have people who think that you can toe this line anymore. You can't. That's why it becomes extra frustrating when you listen to people that are in the Democratic Party in particular that try to come up with justifiable reasons as to why you should be supporting Haley Stevens. They want you to be able to accept the corruption forever and a day. How can you know somebody like Mitch Stolberg, who's now dead because of this system, and think, oh yeah, well, we're just going to continue to do the same shit we've always done. And that's acceptable. It's not. And he's not the only one we've seen die as a result of this. He just happens to be somebody that was very special to us.
Yeah.
So while Bernie may not have been willing to go where we wanted him to go, The good news is that a lot of the country is now going where it needs to go. There is a very important election that is coming up on August 4th. That is not the Michigan senatorial primary. It is the congressional primary in Washington's 9th district. And our billboards just went up this weekend for our guest and friend of the show and somebody who we support unequivocally for Washington's 9th congressional district. Kshama Sawant, welcome back to Revolutionary Change.
Thanks so much for having me.
Oh, it's so good to see. Look, we match.
Yes, I was just thinking about that when I wore this.
No, it's great. I hear your voice. You must be hoarse. You must be sick of talking, like, especially this, like, and the truth is, I don't know how you don't always sound hoarse, quite honestly. Like, you, since I first knew who you were, I have not heard you stop talking loudly. So I mean, it's amazing. But how is it going? How are you doing right now?
The campaign is going extremely well. I mean, the momentum is palpable on the ground. I mean, you wouldn't know about that if you were watching corporate media or, unfortunately, even a lot of the progressive podcast universe. But if you were on the, because they're all invisibilizing our campaign, but if you were on the ground, you would know that there is so much excitement around the campaign. And we have, so far, our campaign has talked to tens of thousands of people in the district. We're getting voter IDs. We're talking to a lot of people who are actually already now, as you know, ballots have gone out. So now people are starting to come up to us and saying that I just voted for Kshama, and here's that here's a photo I took of my ballot, and so on and so forth. And so there is huge excitement because this is a campaign that is boldly fighting for an end to all military aid to Israel, for an total arms embargo on Israel, for free healthcare for all, funded by taxing the billionaires and multimillionaires, to shut down ICE, to stop the data centers. I mean, these are demands that tens of millions of American working people support. And I'll tell you another really important indicator of how well the campaign is being received by working class voters is look at what Adam Smith is doing. Our main opponent, Adam Smith, who's the 29-year incumbent Democrat, who is a general among the warmongers, he just said that he is, I mean, this is all just political theater, but the fact that he is doing what he is doing is a concrete indication of how nervous the war profiteering billionaires are, which is that he has, he just said something like, I have major problems with this $1.15 trillion budget. But guess what? This is his bill. He co-sponsored this bill in early June. He's right. The ranking member of the House Armed Services Committee. The chair of the House Armed Services Committee is Mike Rogers, a Republican. This was a jointly co-sponsored bill between Mike Rogers and Adam Smith. It's a bipartisan bill. So yes, it's for Trump's wars, but guess what? The Democrats are the ones promoting it as much as Republicans are. And it's his bill. He was proudly touting it everywhere he went. And now he is under so much pressure that he's being forced to make these, in my view, false promises. Because guess what, Jen, Peter, I have to tell you, the FEC filings just came out for up until June. We don't know what donations he's got through July. But it is astounding the amount of money he is getting from the war industry and from the Zionist PACs. So his claim that he wants to vote against his own bill, for God's sake, his own bill is not worth the paper it's written on. Because look at the people who have given him money. He has got $59,000 just in June, just in the last couple of weeks, actually. He has got $59,000 from executives of Kratos, Lockheed Martin, and Anchor and Arrow. These are all notorious war profiteering corporations. He's also got $35,000 from NORPAC, which is just another notorious Zionist PAC. He has got $121,000 from APAC. I mean, this is insane. It's absolutely insane. So what's happening is that the billionaire class, the Zionist lobby, they are very nervous about what could happen. And this is the primary election, right? So the primary election is on August 4th. What is really making them nervous, and this is what the Democratic establishment has always been nervous about, is if we advance to the November election, then it becomes a head-to-head match between Adam Smith, the war industry and Zionist guy, and a revolutionary anti-war socialist. Now that would be electrifying. And our campaign comes with our track record of having won unparalleled historic victories on the Seattle City Council, including the nation's highest minimum wage. So this is absolute, in my, I'm not just saying this is because it's our race, but it's objectively speaking the most crucial race for the working class.
I'll tell you, like, I feel like you are always very inspired, like to me, inspiring to me. If you are in that, like, I'd almost be like happy to come out there and canvas for you. We've done that before, like where we've traveled and gone and like done canvassing, but yeah, because, you know, fuck that guy. He's just such, I'm sorry, excuse me. He's just such a piece of, you know.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, he has a blood-drenched record. He should really be on trial for war crimes. The least he needs to face is to be thrown out of office. But look, I mean, if we get into the November election, we will need everybody to come out here and fight alongside us. And we really need you, Jen and Peter. And I'll tell you this also, as we all know, this is not only going to be a defeat of Adam Smith if we are able to do this, obviously, and I want to come to that in a second, but it would not, if we did it, if we actually were able to win, it would not only be a defeat of Adam Smith, it would be a political earthquake, because I am not another, you know, I'm not a Democrat who, okay, is making promises, but ultimately has to pay allegiance to the Democratic establishment. My record is very clear. I am never going to bend to the warmongering agenda. And what we are going to do there, what we are fighting this election for, is not to become a cog in the machine, just a little more left-sounding one. We are not planning to do that. We are going there for the same reason that we went into the Seattle City Council, is to disrupt the status quo, is to disrupt all the team playing between the two parties, and that is why it is a fundamentally different race. But that's also why we have so much stacked against us. You know, that's why in this race you have, it's not just me versus Adam Smith. There's also a Democrat whose only purpose seems to be that they would take away votes from our campaign, and there's a Republican who openly admitted that he was recruited in order to take votes away from the socialist. That is me.
That's their game. They do it every time. As soon as, if you're in the, like when you get in the top two, they're, of course, that's what they're going to do. They're going to totally put their, I mean, yeah, they can't have that.
Kshama, one of the things that truly distinguishes you from pretty much most, if not all, participants in the political arena that we live in today, there is something that I'm sure, look, there's a lot of parallels between you and Abdul al-Sayed. I am sure you have seen the insane amount of Israel lobby money that has been thrown into that race. What is so very telling about the establishment consultant class within the Democratic Party, they almost see it as an insult to suggest that the corporate money infrastructure that controls the system is a problem, that we should not have a system that is run this way, which is why they are basically committing radio silence against your race, even though Adam Smith is the co-author of the worst piece of legislation in all of politics today. The conscription of the U.S. and Israeli militaries as one. This is something that is universally rejected by all corners of the political arena, and yet they don't want to talk about this because at the end of the day, Adam Smith plays ball and you don't. And it's really that simple. Your thoughts?
Yes, absolutely. And in fact, and first of all, Peter, just to acknowledge, you were correct to bring up that this bill that he himself is the author of, but is now saying that, or claiming that he doesn't or he won't support, it actually also has that insidious clause in it, which is the fusing of the US and Israeli militaries. And the reason they are so afraid is twofold. One is, as you said, Adam Smith has been an absolutely unwavering advocate of the billionaire class. He doesn't have that much of a profile in the sense that most people haven't really known who he is, because he's the kind of guy who doesn't need, he doesn't do much showmanship in the sense of some other sort of superstar type of politicians, but he is one of the crucial movers and drivers of the warmongering agenda, the Zionist agenda, in the back rooms. So he is, if the establishment and the Zionist lobby are terrified that they would lose him, because it is very, very difficult for them to then have somebody like him immediately overnight. And then the other reason is that, which makes it even worse for them, is not only would they be losing him if we won the election, they would be allowing somebody like me into office. I mean, just to harken back to Seattle, when I won my first election in 2013, one of the Democrats on the council, and they're all Democrats, as you know, said, "Oh my God, her coming into City Hall would be like a mountain lion in a grocery store." And I mean, I have no idea if they've ever seen a mountain lion in a grocery store, but the point is that I think that what they were trying to capture is the fact that there is no way that they would be able to buy my vote. They would never be able to buy my loyalty, because my undying loyalty is to the working class and the oppressed, and that means for the Palestinian people. And I'll just say this, to add to it, is that if you look at the political situation right now, we are in a historically unique point, which is that in the nearly 80 years of the existence of the state of Israel, and which, as we know, has been a project of US imperialism in the first place, the creation of the state of Israel was a project of capitalism. But for the first time in that period, the majority of Americans are against Israel, and obviously a bigger majority than that are disgusted by the genocide in Gaza. And yet, even at such a moment where consciousness has dramatically shifted, we don't really have an anti-war movement that is putting pressure on the establishment. So that should really beg the question, what is going on here? In my view, the main feature of American politics right now is not lagging consciousness of on the part of the masses. In my view, it's the opposite. The mass of working class people in America have never been so ready for a revolt in our times, at least in the last 18 years that I've been an activist. But the chasm between that consciousness and the leadership that's on offer, that's the main feature of American politics. And that is why I think this election matters, because as I've said before to you all, and I'm sure I know you agree, that ultimately we need to overthrow capitalism. We are not going to end war, achieve Palestinian liberation, any of that on the basis of capitalism. And that's why I'm a revolutionary socialist. But we are, at this moment, the question is, where are the breakthroughs going to come from for the anti-war movement, for the working class? And the major obstacles, I mean, look at the major obstacles. The labor movement leadership is mostly business unionist and is bought into giving cover to the establishment and siding with the bosses. And the NGO leadership, the progressive Democrats, all of these are performing the role of what I call gatekeepers. And there's really no avenue for breakthroughs. But if we are able to win this election, it is not about electoral politics. It is about winning that breakthrough, because we are committed to using our elected office not to, do the whatever math of votes behind the scenes, but to turn outward and shake up things in Congress by using our congressional office to build mass movements. That is how the nation's highest minimum wage was won in Seattle. I mean, yes, it's a labor victory, but that victory was not won because of the heft of the labor leadership. For the most part, except for some crucial exceptions, the labor leadership was opposed to our call for a $15 minimum wage in 2013 when I ran my first election campaign. But that's the avenue that our election campaign provided us. We were not going to be held to their to their limitations, and we could run the campaign the way we wanted to. And we made $15 an hour the main demand for the working class. And my successful election in 2013 forced the majority of the labor leadership to join the struggle for 15. So that's how that labor victory came about, through rank and file organizing. And that rank and file organizing, the potential for that grows by orders of magnitude if we have even one congressional office willing to use their office in that way.
Well, I can say for certainty that if you are able to get to Capitol Hill, I hope you are on the same hallway as AOC, where Post-it notes will be put up on your wall, but they'll actually be acknowledged and you will actually do things that need to be done. Speaking of labor and doing what you need to improve the minimum wage, as you know, we believe in what you're doing. We always have. and we decided to raise capital on our own. No coordination, in case anybody gets cute. But over the weekend, there were 4 billboards that went up within the congressional district. This is one of them. And as you can see, we thought about, well, what's the message that we want to put out there? What's the message that makes the most sense? Put something tangible up on a billboard that shows people that by you being on the Seattle City Council for the decade plus that you were there, you can now claim that Seattle has the highest minimum wage in the United States. In fact, while you might not be able to live in the wealthy part of Seattle, if you are a full-time employee making $21.30 an hour, you do have probably just enough to live in a decent part of Seattle. Now, this is probably the only place in the United States that can really say this. And you, as much as anybody, can take a lap because of the hard work that you have done. And what I say to that is this: if you are able to get to Capitol Hill, think about the impact that you will have at the local, at the state, and at the federal level. That's why this election is so important. Your thoughts?
Yes, I think that's a very important point you brought up, Peter, is that when we win, I don't mean this particular election because nobody can predict what will happen, but when the working class is able to win such positions of where you can actually organize something, it is never a case of, oh, you just do it in Seattle, or you just do it in California, or you just do it in Washington, D.C. It doesn't work that way. That is actually part of what terrifies the capitalist class about working class struggle, is that it is extremely contagious. You win anywhere, it has the potential, not necessarily guaranteed, but it has the potential of igniting struggle elsewhere. And so the point that you brought up about how the congressional office can be used if it's won by a revolutionary socialist, sort of it was flipped in a different way when we won our elected office in Seattle. So just that's a really interesting starting point, because that's established fact, what we actually did, already did, which is that when we won in Seattle, we didn't stop in Seattle. We launched the 15 Now campaign here just a few weeks after I won after I took office in January 2014. And then less than 6 months after taking office, we had won the $15 minimum wage struggle here in Seattle, which became international viral news. But because of that, it ignited struggles everywhere across the nation. And so there were 15 Now campaigns built in many other cities, and we were able to win substantial increases, wage increases, not just minimum wage workers, but it also, translates into wage increases for other workers. And so actually the National Employment Law Project did a calculation, and this was almost 10 years ago. So, in terms of money, it's far more than what they said at that time. But at that time, they noted, it was in 2018, they noted that already tens of millions of workers had won wage increases, substantial wage increases, because of what we did in Seattle. And that had translated into an increase in well-being for workers at the tune of $68 billion. So it's now even much more than that. So in other words, the victory that we won in Seattle has generated substantial wage increases for tens of millions of workers, such that it has been a crucial lifeline for them as they get pummeled by cost of living increases. Obviously, this is not enough, but what it shows is that this can be done, and it has been a hugely beneficial for some of the most marginalized workers. Like in Seattle, the workers who benefited the most disproportionately from that are Black, poor and working class Black workers, Latino workers, women workers, single mom households, and this is true nationwide as well. And so flipping that, if you were able to win a congressional office of the kind that we did in Seattle, then absolutely what you're saying is true, is that it's not only that we can and will use, if we win our congressional office, to ignite national struggle for national level gains, like, for debates in Congress, in the halls of Congress, but it also will provide huge momentum for local and state level struggles. I mean, just to give you a concrete example, one of the demands that we're running on, and one of the most popular demands that we're running on, is free healthcare for all funded by taxing the rich. And we are specifically formulating it that way, Jen and Peter, because of two reasons. One is that It's not about, we don't want the insurance industry and big pharma industry to be profiting, because once you allow that door open, then it gets worse and worse. So we want to say free at the point of use for every kind of healthcare, but also funded by taxing the billionaires and multimillionaires. Because anytime you talk about healthcare, what is the first question you get from the naysayers? Oh, who's going to pay for it? Who's going to pay for it? And my answer to that is, you are the guy who's asking, the billionaire who's asking, well, you are going to pay for it, because the top 1% have amassed a wealth of $55 trillion. I mean, it is unimaginable amount of wealth that they have gained, especially since the pandemic. The inequality has grown so dramatically. And so that's why we need to do this. But the reason I'm mentioning this as an example of what we're talking about is that absolutely, if we were able to win this congressional office, absolutely one of the things that I will be doing, and I'm committing publicly to doing this, is not only to fight for it in the halls of Congress, but understanding that we are up against the entire might of the capitalist class to win any of these victories, that it will be strategic for us to use the heft, use the position, congressional position, to launch local, citywide and statewide struggles. And it's not a strange thing to propose that, because if you look at how Canada won its public health care, they didn't win it nationally right away. They won it in the Saskatchewan province, as you know. And it was won to the same process that we want to kickstart in the United States, which is that it wasn't won through having illusions in the two main parties of capitalism. It was won. The starting point of winning public healthcare in Canada was the Cooperative Commonwealth Federation, which was at that time a labor and militant and socialist type of party, new party. In other words, it was a new party for the working class. They won power in the Saskatchewan province. They won public healthcare in that province, and it became so successful and so popular that Canadian working people across the nation started clamoring for it. And it was such a threat to the two parties of capitalism that it was the Tories who ended up instituting it nationally, because they were so nervous that the CCF would win power nationally. That is the kind of credible threat of actual party building of working class people that can win victories. And so our campaign is very crucial in that sense also, because first of all, I mean, let's be clear. If we win, it would be the first ever revolutionary socialist elected to the US Congress. I mean, this is going to be, if we do win, and I keep stressing that, because it is absolutely not going to be straightforward. It is an uphill task. We have to be very sober about that. But if we can win, it will be it won't just be national news. It will be internationally a political earthquake, because winning a revolutionary socialist elected office in the halls of Congress, in the belly of the global capitalist beast, that is not a small thing. I mean, that is the stuff of nightmares of the billionaires, And so if we can make that happen, it will be a kind of a parting of ways, parting of the waters, for building a new party of the working class, that which is absolutely necessary. We cannot lose sight of the fact that it is a non-starter. A lot of our struggles are non-starters unless we have an independent party for the working class, organizing on the ground, running election campaigns, of course, but alongside that being rooted in social struggle and building for strike actions.
Yeah, for sure. Peter.
No, you.
What about me? No, I mean, and that is ultimately when I did the first time that I ran for Congress, the whole premise was we're a service campaign, building up community, building up momentum, because regardless of winning or losing, that campaign was a service campaign and built community and ultimately built this platform. And so I totally get that. And I don't think most people even understand what that would look like, because we have not had somebody in Congress that has actually used that office as a platform for working people. Nobody's done that. So we don't have any idea as to what that looks like. So, I mean, to me, it would be basically you doing what you did in Seattle, in DC, and making sure to be present for other locals and state communities as they're trying to deal with a lot of these issues. Because, I mean, we have been watching the healthcare struggle in not just Washington, but in California and New York. And we've talked so many times about, like, which one of these states do you think is going to get it through first? And then we, of course, have the debate with people that don't think it can work on a state level. And I don't know. I'm kind of torn on that.
Yeah, sorry. I'm glad you brought that up, Jen, because honestly, I think a lot of the people in the left get caught up in debates which I think are not useful, in the sense that the debate is not local versus national. That is not the debate here. That debate is only insofar as, strategically which level, how strong is the movement to win it locally versus how strong is it nationally. Obviously, it has to be much stronger nationally. That is the only dimension in which I find that debate useful. The real debate is, what is the strategy to actually win, and is it going to be won through putting any faith in the Democratic Party? That is the crucial question. If you ask me, what is the one question that can provide a clear strategy for winning healthcare, that would be it. Because look at what happened in California. You mentioned California, Jen. California has a Democratic governor, has had a Democratic governor for years. They have a supermajority or a near supermajority in both houses of the state legislature, the Democratic Party do. And what did they do to CalCare, which is the statewide Medicare for All bill? They crushed it 4 times in the last 10 years, including one just last month. I mean, that is how disgraceful the track record has been of the Democratic Party, and that is how unsuccessful, that is how much of a resounding failure has been the strategy of putting faith in the Democrats. So that is the central question. That is absolutely the central question. If you look at what happened in Vermont, the Democratic Party, again, same with majority in the state and governor and all that stuff, they had enough pressure on them to pass a Medicare for All type of bill, but they didn't fund it. There was no funding mechanism, which is why we're insisting. We're going to say this is going to be funded by taxing the billionaires. And then surprise, 3 years down the line, Governor Shumlin, who's a Democrat, said, oh, geez, we don't know how to pay for this bill. We have not been able to fund it. We're going to repeal it. And then what has happened in Congress? We have had the Medicare for All bill being brought formally, 13 times in my own count. I'm probably undercounting it, but 13 times at least in the last 20 years. Not a single time has it been brought for an actual vote. And I think that is very important. See, because and that's why I think people who mock the whole question of force the vote that came up earlier, they're missing if to the extent that they're being genuine but mistaken, they are wrong, because force the vote was not about one moment in time. The whole question, it's a very fundamental question. When people who get elected, whether you're a Democrat or, and so far it's only been Democrats, but even if you're an independent like me, it's not about being independent in name only. It is a question of, what will you do when you win elected office? Will you actually use it in the way that needs to be done in order to wrest concessions from the billionaire class? And part of wresting concessions from the billionaire class requires you to go through the gatekeepers. And part of the gatekeepers are the Democratic Party establishment themselves. And it's because even though they are a party of capitalism, there's an illusion that somehow they are different than the Republican Party. And that is why they're able to play the role of gatekeepers, especially the progressive Democrats. And so what they do, what they have done so far, is that they bring the Medicare for All bill, dust it off a little bit every 2 years, have a press conference, say, oh, we have all these co-sponsors, but then do nothing whatsoever with it. And they just say, oh, I support Medicare for All. But that doesn't amount to anything, because it puts no real pressure on the Democratic Party, on the insurance industry, on the big pharma billionaires, and so on and so forth. Bringing something to a vote and then building a movement around it is an integral component of what I call a class struggle based fighting strategy. And just to give a concrete example, using the $15 example, is that when I first took office, all these reporters would ask me, how many votes do you have for 15? How many votes do you have for 15? Hoping to trip me up and say, well, I don't have the votes, I can't win. And I was very honest with them. I said, if the vote were held today, then you would get one vote, mine, because none of the Democrats are willing to support it. But we are going to make it so that they end up supporting it. And less than 6 months, as I said, after I had taken office, we got a unanimous vote on $15 an hour. How we got that is the very important part of this whole story. And that's crucial for what you can do in Congress as well, which is that obviously building movements, all of that we know, and none of the Democrats do that even. But even that is not enough. It's what kind of movements you build. The political clarity of the movements is crucial. So just to give you a concrete example, when the Democrats initially were, they did not want to support 15. They hated every aspect of it. They were nakedly on the side of the Chamber of Commerce, and they especially did not want to give inflation increases. I mean, it was pitch battle till the last moment before the vote was taken, roll call was taken. It was pitch battle, especially around inflation increases, if it was going to apply to franchises. They wanted to deny every possible worker the minimum wage increase when they felt that they had to vote yes, but they were going to, try and water it down as much as possible. But before that, they were not even willing to agree to it. So why is this important? Because when the Democratic Party politicians say they're not going to support something, they don't say nakedly like the Republicans, well, I'm supporting big business, I'm supporting the billionaires. They don't say that. They say, oh, I really hear you, I really understand the workers, but we need a study, we need a subcommittee, we need to think about small businesses, we need to do this. They sound benign, but in reality, what they're doing is being cutthroat vicious against the working class. So it's your job as the working class fighter to call them out on it. And so this idea that when you get elected, you have to build coalitions with the elected officials, that is a toxic idea. It's toxic towards the working class, because then that tells you that, well, I can't call this guy out for what he's actually doing. I have to accept what he's saying at face value. But I didn't. I said openly from the dais, I said, council member so-and-so, you say this, but what you're actually doing is you are supporting Jeff Bezos instead of the most marginalized workers. Shame on you for doing that. Shame on you for trying to rob the poorest workers in our city of the bare minimum that they need in order to just get by. And look at their children here in chambers. Look at their children. Look at their faces. This mom tearfully testified that she can't even buy trinkets for her child, and this is an actual story because this woman was a single mom, a Black woman from working at McDonald's, and she was in tears because she said she makes so little money that she can't even buy little trinkets for her little daughter. I mean, even now I get choked up when I think about it. But my job at that moment was to specifically reject the face value description of what they were saying, the politicians, and call them out. And so why this example is so crucial, Jen and Peter, is that is the kind of clarity in the movement leadership that is needed in order to expose the Democratic politicians. Because when you do that, you create an actual, tangible, material, political price tag for their own careers, because their careers ride on their reputations as good people, nice people, just not this time, just not now. And so exposing them for what they are, which is not nice to the working class, but actually viciously cruel to the working class, that is necessary, because then they see a price tag to themselves. When they see that, maybe I won't get elected next time because this person, Kshama Sawant, is exposing me so openly. And that is how you extract the yes votes from these people who are not at all, even in the slightest, on the side of the working class. But the flip side of that story is that makes for not cordial relations with those politicians, because they're going to hate you. But that comes with the territory. If you don't fight for the working class and the Democratic Party politicians don't hate you, then you are not doing your job for the working class. It comes with the territory, and you have to wear it like a badge of honor. And that is why explaining this is very important, because there's a fundamental difference between good, quote unquote, good people getting elected, but never pushing for anything. I mean, for fuck's sake, the national minimum wage is still $7.25 an hour.
And you are living proof that if you put forth the blood, sweat, and tears in the streets and in the halls of, whether it is the city, the council at large, whether it is at the State House, and whether it's at Congressional Capitol Hill, there are opportunities to make change, but you really have to have a revolutionary mindset at this point. If you don't have it, there's no change coming. And obviously you have it in spades. The election is 2 weeks from tomorrow. What can people do, or what should people do during the home stretch that would be of the most help to your campaign at this point?
first of all, if you're in our district, and it is the Washington State 9th Congressional District, as Peter said earlier, but it doesn't matter if you know it or not, just open your ballot. Please don't put your ballot in the recycling. I know most of the time there's nothing worth voting for, but this campaign is absolutely worth voting for. So please open your ballot. If you see my name, then you're in the district. Make sure you follow, circle the bubble, fill out the bubble, and then put it in one of the ballot stations. If you look at our social media, go to Facebook or TikTok or on X or on Instagram, you'll see our campaign, and we have information about where the ballot boxes are located. If you don't know where it is located, closest to you, just call our campaign. We will tell you, or message us. We will tell you where they are. But basically, it's if you're in the district, the most crucial thing and urgent thing you need to do is vote for our campaign and turn your ballot in by August 4th. Don't wait for it. And then in addition to that, whether you're in the district or not, if you have friends, families, co-workers in the district, or you think they might be in the district, but you're not sure, call them, ask them, have they thought about our campaign? If they have any questions, and make it known. And this is the most winning argument that we've seen for the voters in the district, is make it known that we are not a campaign that is running a candidate that's making empty promises like every other politician. We have a whole decade of track record to show that we have fought and won for workers. And the way we do it is by prioritizing the interests of the working class and never having become a careerist. I mean, that is the most compelling thing that we have seen for working class people when they find out that I am not your run-of-the-mill politician, because a lot of young people especially are sick and tired of politics from the Democratic and Republican Party. Sometimes they're not willing to stop at our canvassing table until they hear that I'm not a Democrat. Like, they're like, I don't want anything to do with the Democrats. And then when you say, no, she is independent and she was on the city council and she won the highest minimum wage, that's when people are willing to stop and talk to you. And so please talk to your friends, family, and coworkers about our track record and say that this is the only campaign of this kind in the entire midterm election, in all of the United States. And that it's very crucial that they vote. Go to kshamasawant.org. Your donations are also extremely important because this is a grassroots campaign. Our median donation is $25, whereas Adam Smith's median donation is $1,000. Obviously, he's getting a lot of money from all these. I mean, you should see.
He's just more popular than you, Kshama. That's what you have to come to terms with.
Yes, with the people that give $1,000 donations.
Yes,
good.
Yes, in fact, talking about popularity, our campaign has 8.5 times more donors than does Adam Smith. And so,
Kshama, can I also say one thing? That, we go obviously on and on about Wasserman Schultz and being in Congress for over 20 years. How in the hell do you sit in Congress for 30 goddamn years? How is that even conceivable? Like, I've done work on the Hill. Like, are you shitting me? The only way you could do 30 years on the Hill is if you're not there. That's the only way.
They're not.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, that's a very, very good point you brought up. I mean, honestly, the only way you could do that is if you sold your soul, in some shape or form. Obviously, there are degrees, and I wouldn't put Bernie Sanders, for example, in the same category as Adam Smith. But at the end of the day, you are either a completely sold out, soulless person like Adam Smith, or you are somebody like Bernie Sanders who has decided that, you've made your pact with the devil, that, you will give them cover to a certain extent that makes them comfortable with you, and in return they won't make your re-elections a hellish experience. I mean, I don't know for a fact that they have this agreement, but it seems to me politically that must be true. And the reason I mentioned that is that we have won. I mean, as you said, Jen, win or lose, we are in this for the long haul. We are revolutionary socialists. We are in this for the long haul, and we are never going to abandon the working class. At the same time, winning is crucial, and all of us here, we take winning seriously, which is why you have done the billboards. And by the way, I saw one of those billboards. It looks beautiful. Thank you so much. Yeah, and
we're getting crap from some people in the chat. I'm trying to accept from Violin. I'm sure.
No, it's good, Violin. Trust me, the key points were made.
Yes.
We went through great lengths to make sure that the eye test, that's what it's called. It's the eye test. Can the eye test be done in again, it's 8 seconds. That's how long they rotate every minute. But can you get the message across? Yes. And the other thing that I do want to point out, Kshama, which I think is a big future in politics, a lot of times there's been heavy criticism about the jungle primary system. But I think as this country continues to evolve away from the two-party duopoly, I actually think the jungle primary is what most people are going to embrace, because in the jungle primary system, you have a much better chance of breaking through as an independent candidate than you ever would within the primary system in the state of Florida. It may be the worst in the United States. Like, if you are trying to win any type of legitimate higher office in the state of Florida, you have to be within the two parties. You cannot win otherwise.
No.
Whereas in a state like Washington, I mean, you could be whatever you want pretty much. And if you are the best candidate, that's one of the things I loved about making the billboard. We didn't have to say if you were a Republican or Democrat. We just had to say vote August 4th.
Well, and the other thing is, with a name like yours, nobody's going to mistake it for someone else, right?
No.
Right. So it's just like, all you need to do is see Kshama 2130. Good. Yes. Congress. It's like, those are the key points. And before you go, I want to just say something. I mean, obviously you are, as a revolutionary socialist, on the correct side of Palestine. But can you explain to people how this is connected, that it is connected? Because I think that people want to compartmentalize when we're talking about working class issues, and this is a class war for sure. But that same class war is what's fueling what's going on in Palestine.
Yes. Yes, I'm glad you brought this up, Jen, because obviously we all of us here agree that we should have a principled fight against any type of oppression. But even if that is not your starting point, even if Palestinian liberation may not be your starting point at arriving at the anti-war movement, it is crucial for us to recognize that all of this is interlinked. I mean, one thing, the most immediate thing, and then there's the deeper thing about the whole capitalist system, which I think is both are useful to look at. The first thing, just on the surface, is so connected, because if you are angry about the cost of living crisis, and I don't care whom you voted for in the 2024 election, there are lots of people who voted for Trump or Harris or didn't vote at all, who will agree that our country is in shambles as far as working class living standards are concerned, and something needs to be done. That it's absolutely a nightmare, where half of American households aren't even able to afford their grocery bills. That's how bad things are. And so this is of interest to everybody's life here as far as the working class is concerned, which is that if you look at the $1 trillion that are being spent every year on war and bloodshed, they are going, the dollars are being used to carry out absolute horrors, unspeakable horrors on the Palestinian, Lebanese, Yemeni, Syrian, Iraqi, Irani people. But those $1 trillion, where do they come from? They come primarily from taxpayer money. And the United States, the richest nation in the world, has the most regressive tax system. And many of the states have the most regressive. And you know what's interesting about Florida and Washington State, by the way, Jen, is that Florida has the nation's most regressive tax system, and Washington State has the second most regressive. But Washington was the most regressive for the longest time. Can you believe it? A blue state. Washington is a very, very blue state, and it had the most regressive tax system. Anyway, my point is that those $1 trillion, they come from the pockets of the working class. They're used to bomb working people in other countries. And then where does that money end up? It ends up in the pockets of the billionaires and multimillionaires overall. I'm not even saying just the war industry, because if you look at who owns all these corporations, all the way from Lockheed Martin to Rolls-Royce, even the companies you don't think manufacture weapons are implicated in the war industry, and it's across the board. And if you look at who owns the majority of the stock of all these companies, it's the same, whatever they're called, funds or whatever on Wall Street, BlackRock, Vanguard, Geode, State Street. The same, those same entities own all of these companies. And then who owns those entities? They're not inanimate objects floating in the ether. They are actual billionaires and multimillionaires who are making money, who are profiting from war by stealing our money as working people and then bombing other working people. So that's a very clear and immediate connection. If you want those $1 trillion to be used for our public education, for our healthcare, for our infrastructure, to provide living wage jobs for us so that we can actually have a decent life, then you should be supporting Palestinian liberation. You should be part of the anti-war movement because they are directly connected. But it is even deeper than that, as we know, because as I was saying earlier, the creation of the Israeli state itself is a project of capitalism, because that region is uniquely geopolitically crucial for the global capitalist class, and it has also, oil riches. So it is, in many different dimensions, it is extremely crucial for the capitalist class to control, meaning it is crucial for them to keep working class rebellion in check at all times. And the Israeli state acts as a garrison state, as a fortress for them in the entire region. And so ultimately, this is a working class question as well. Obviously, it is a question of oppression first and foremost, but it is linked with the way the capitalist system actually functions. And so it is of extreme relevance to the global working class. And in fact, I would say that really what we will need in that region is for the Egyptian working class first and foremost to move into struggle, because that's the big behemoth of working class in that nation. And so the working class in all of those nations need to get organized, but they have to get organized alongside us, because the US capitalist class is the main culprit in all of this. So we have to note these connections, because it also tells us not only that the anti-war movement is directly in the interest of our pocketbook as working people, but it also tells us the crucial importance of internationalism in our agenda, because our interests as working people are far, far, far more connected with working people's interests in other nations than they are with the homegrown capitalist class. So ultimately, class is the main divider.
Yes.
And
Guys,
can I just say one thing?
Sure.
Sorry. In terms of the winning and losing that we were talking about earlier, which is that we are here regardless of whether we win or lose. We are in the long haul because we are revolutionaries. At the same time, it is important to emphasize the world of a difference that it makes when we do win elections. I mean, in Seattle, we would not have seen the victories we saw, which is the nation's highest minimum wage, defeating Jeff Bezos and winning the Amazon tax, which raises hundreds of millions of dollars for affordable housing, the whole host of renters' rights, which are unparalleled really in virtually any other city. We would not have won any of those had we not won our elections as the starting point. And I left office having lost no elections. We even defeated the attempted recall by the Trump-supporting billionaire landlords. And it took a real fight to win each of those elections. But my point is that rather than seeing, as many on the left are tempted to see, rather than seeing electoral as in one silo and movements in another, understanding that running elections in the way that we do, where we are not running for my career and for me, but for the working class program, that it is actually a crucial avenue of breakthroughs that we need to use, especially to start building a new party for the working class. And that when you win elections, you can actually win tangible victories for the working class, educate the working class in the process of struggle, because the process of fighting for something shows you who's actually on your side and who is not. So it's a great, great educator. And it also shows that, it also exposes the limitations of that approach, that, we will ultimately need strike actions and a general strike and so on. And so I think I just wanted to paint a picture for everybody who is watching this, is that if we can win this election, which means first of all, we have to advance to the November election, it will be orders of magnitude more powerful for working class struggle than if we don't win. So we do have so much at stake, and we can't afford to be complacent. And so I really urge everybody who is watching this to join our fight, because this election is the fight for the working class.
Definitely.
Kshama, you are great, and we will obviously be pulling for you for the next 2 weeks. Guys, if you can help in any capacity, phone banking, text banking, if you're in the Pacific Northwest, if you can get to the southern part of Seattle, that would be wonderful to help out on door knocking, canvassing, and poll working, which commences, I believe, in a week's time, and then Election Day is August 4th. So we are with you all the way. Obviously, go to the links in the description. help out where you can. Kshama, we'll be talking to you when you are the nominee and hopefully getting to Seattle at some point soon.
Thanks,
Thank
Kshama.
you so much. Thank you so much. Solidarity.
Bye. And of course, if you've enjoyed that conversation, which we hope you have, please consider going over to patreon.com/revolutionary change for as little as $5 a month. You can become a supporter of our small but mighty, despite heavily suppressed, yet still somehow growing channel, because again, our content is good, it is pure, we are trying to do right, and that is what it is all about. Also, you know that we are on Substack, we are also on Instagram, we are also on Rumble, and we are on TikTok, Revolutionary Change. Check us out there if you can. Kicking us off, Agreeable has decided to become a YouTube member again. Great to see you, my friend. I Am Thor, thank you for becoming a YouTube member. Jim Talib with the $5. Thank you very, very much. King Dingaling with the $4.99. I was there, and as an UAW member, Sean Fain brought the balls back to our union, and Abdul is the real deal and inspired me to volunteer for him. That is great to hear, and we really appreciate it. Zach Faust Show, we know that's our friend Zach Faust, with the 1999 Luck Howard Futlick. I like your use of language there.
Of course, as soon as he put that in there, everybody was going, Nutlick, it's Nutlick.
Yeah, well, absolutely. Nutlick, got me saying it now. Silverstein, Thermalite. Yes, if you guys saw our clip earlier about Roger Waters, we highly recommend that you check it out if you haven't already. Also, check out the clip we just did, or that I just did on Saturday, regarding Barry Goldwater and his alignment with JFK, not LBJ, on the state of Israel. I Am Thor with the $49.99. Go to takethedealdonald.org. I sent you an email last week and no reply. Guys, Jen, can you field that one regarding?
I don't know what it's about. Are you ready to do this story?
No. I'm talking about email responses right now. Why it may? Why?
No, because it goes to no. I don't know, Peter. I don't know.
Okay, just making sure. So I will reach out to Rachel. I will make sure that this gets addressed. Are you ready to do this story? Because I will give you 10 days before I fly to DC and give BB the same deal. Some bodies rule the world and no bodies change it. Well, we're certainly happy to cover it regardless of how big or small one's donation ends up being. The story is important. We definitely want, again, you know what our goals here are on this channel, you know, what we're trying to accomplish. And so, excuse me, if there is considerable importance to what you're describing, I would certainly have no problem with it whatsoever, and we would obviously be happy to address it. And thank you very much for your very generous contribution. And you could also go to substack.com.
I have to answer a question, though. I have to answer a question.
Sure.
Travers, yes, and it's for people who are asking, this is a new keffiyeh. It is my new keffiyeh, and for the people who would recommend it, it's one of the Herbawi. This is the Herbawi, and it is made in Palestine, and it is the last and only keffiyeh still made in Palestine, and I did purchase it through them. Travers, the problem might be that they have a U.S. distribution, so mine probably came, even though it's made in Palestine, this came from their U.S. distribution, which might be why it got to me faster. I believe that could be it. But yes, guys, this is my new one.
Well, where's mine?
You don't have one, and this is the one that the nice girl gave to Rachel, and that's Rachel's. Mine, my original one is still in Florida. And the thing I did notice, guys, the Herbawi, and hopefully they'll make new ones, because there are all these really cool colored ones, but they're out of stock of they were out of stock of everything except the traditional. So that's why I got another traditional. I kind of wanted to get one of the different color ones, but yeah. Anyhow.
Jen, did you hear that the most important guru for young men in the entire world, Andrew Tate, and his brother got arrested?
I've heard about these people only since we've been doing this show. Otherwise, I still wouldn't know who these people were. And I got to tell you, I think I'd be better for it. I do.
Yeah, it is
I
unfortunate.
can't think of any benefit in my life of learning who people like this are.
They are a big part of the youth of your sons. It is unfortunate, but it does play a role. The Tates. Yeah.
My boys are not into that crap.
Thank goodness. Andrew Tate made this statement on Candace Owens' podcast, I believe, a year plus ago.
Right here in Miami. I'm right here in Miami. Come get me. Arrest me. Perp walk me. Put me on the news. Tell everyone I'm a human trafficker. You think I'm not versed? You think I'm not ready? I'm a Navy SEAL in this shit. Come.
Oh, you look very Navy SEAL there in your capris. I don't understand how this.
Can you even explain why he's dressed like this?
I don't know, and I don't care. This is someone who, and I'm going to give him this. He seemingly identifies as male, but people look and think this guy's like a man. I don't get it. I don't get it. And honestly, if you also identify as male, I wouldn't want him in any way, shape, or form being any representation of what a man is. Because I don't get that from him. I get angry, closeted, very confused, probably traumatized from bad childhood experience. Like I get a lot of that, but I don't get man. Well, yes, for sure. And I want everyone to know that Peter pulled that up, which does not normally happen. Normally, I'm the one who pulls it up.
No, in the case of Andrew Tate, I had to because, I mean, let's be honest. The way he talks.
We're not going to make fun of metros. Metros are fine. Metrosexual is good. My dad's the original. There's nothing wrong with metrosexual. Okay, just saying. I'm a Navy SEAL. I'm a Navy SEAL.
Yeah, he's a pretty low life scumbag of a person. So we'll finish it up.
Get me, raid my house, take my stuff. You think I sleep with a phone full of evidence? You think I don't wipe my phone every night? You think I'm dumb? Come get me, arrest me.
Breaking, Andrew and Tristan Tate have been arrested in Miami.
That's unfortunate.
Yeah, it's a shame. Colin, please pull up the article.
He'll die in custody.
I hope so. From the BBC, the Tate brothers arrested in U.S. as further UK charges take total to 59. Oh, don't they look wonderful there, Jen?
I think this is silly to me. He's silly. Actually, I almost feel embarrassed for Navy SEALs. I'd love to know what our friend Jesse Ventura thinks about this guy.
He's not a Navy SEAL. I don't know why he calls himself that, but that's a whole other story. Stolen valor. What else?
Didn't he just? Well, wait a minute. So you're saying he just blatantly lied and said he's a Navy SEAL, but he isn't?
My understanding is he's not. I mean, he was a martial artist, a mixed martial artist, and he did have success. It's not like he didn't have.
So he just blatantly claimed to be a Navy SEAL, which again, that's a pretty specific term. It's not just, I'm a strong guy, right? So if you're going to claim that, then it's very provable or disprovable in your case, right? Like that just seems silly.
Yeah. And again, this is really the point of it all. And Jen, you've been talking about this lately, you know, the idea that you've got
he's not a SEAL. All right. Yeah.
Yeah. That there's a lot of lost young men out there and they find themselves increasingly going down these dangerous rabbit holes and finding people like Tate to be someone to look up to, which is a very concerning revelation as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah, again, that is not representative of men in my life. So I feel for people if that is, because that is, that's not good.
Conservative influencer Andrew Tate and his brother Tristan have been arrested in the U.S. after British authorities issued 38 new charges against the pair. The UK's Crown Prosecution Service, CPS, said Andrew was being charged with 7 further counts of rape, as well as charges related to sex trafficking and indecent images of a child.
Here's the problem with Andrew is he talks a big game. because he seems like he thinks he's really tough. I'm very curious as to how well he does in maximum as a child predator, because I've known people that have been in places like that, and I don't think people like Andy are going to do very well, no matter how tough they think they are. I think he's looking like somebody's bitch about now. And I know that people like that do not do well in prison. Actually, they are the only people I think that do worse than bad cops, are child predators and rapists. So, yeah, good luck with that. Good luck with that.
Tristan's charges include 2 counts of rape and 3 counts of arranging or facilitating trafficking for sexual exploitation.
Yeah, there's someone named Bubba waiting for you, Andy.
You
He's
gotta
just
be,
waiting for you.
They both got a couple of pretty mouths, if you know what I mean.
I'm just saying. I mean, woo! Especially in those capris, in those fancy capris.
The total number of charges against the brothers is now 59, police said. The alleged offending is said to have taken place between July of 2010 and August of 2017. Can you imagine them getting away with these sex crimes for over 7 years?
Oh, yeah. It's going to be so. When things like that come to like this kind of head, and it seems that there will be some amount of justice served, it is satisfying, right? I mean, it does feel satisfying. But my prediction is that one or both of them are not surviving captivity in the relatively short term. I don't see them being able to make it to trial. Their best bet would be to like flee to Israel.
Oh no, I think they're in deep shit now. If they're
well, it'll be interesting to see if they get bonded out.
Well, my guess is that Interpol or MI6 is involved in this, and that they want to deal with them now because, well, listen, here's the sad truth, ladies and gentlemen, and this is the thing that you always have to remember. While it is nice that they are they're basically going to be faced with some type of justice, they are going to be looking to make a deal. They probably know a lot of shit about a lot of different people, and they will sing like fucking canaries. If there's one thing we could say definitively about the Tate brothers, they will sing from the fucking mountaintops to avoid any type of serious incarceration. So we know that that's one of the reasons why they're being indicted the way that they are. They're going to throw so much at them that they're not going to be able to get out of it unless there's bigger fish to fry, and perhaps there is. And that is the downside of international justice, but we will see how it unfolds. The Tates have previously denied any wrongdoing. Of course they have. Following because the women were, the girls, and now we could say girls, the girls were always asking for it, Jen. Following their arrest, prosecutors will begin legal proceeding to extradite the brothers, who are dual British U.S. citizens, to the UK, the CPS said. These charging decisions follow receipt of a further file of evidence from Bedfordshire police and bring the total number of alleged victims in this case to 7. Malcolm McAfee, head of the Special Crime Division at the CPS, said. Bedfordshire and Hertfordshire police have been investigating a number of offenses in what is called the complex investigation. As a result, 38 new charges were authorized against the brothers, meaning Andrew is at 39, facing a total of 42 charges in the UK, and 37 for Tristan, facing 17. The U.S. Marshals confirmed to the BBC that the Tates have been taken into custody, while a U.S. Department of Justice spokesperson said the arrests were pursuant to extradition proceedings. A lawyer who represents the Tates, Joseph McBride, said, "The world knows Andrew and Tristan are innocent." And you wonder why. Of course they are. There's always some dipshit lawyer out there that would say that shit. In a statement released after their arrest on Saturday evening, their enemies know it best of all. This is exactly why they have been attacked, McBride said. He said that the new charges were designed to counter a defamation action filed by the brothers in the U.S. Yes, that's exactly what it's about. We are confident that once a competent judge sees the facts, and once the DOJ confronts this egregious abuse of its own authority. Andrew and
This
Tristan,
is what I thought too. Like, I was actually surprised that they got arrested in Miami too. Of all
they
the
would be
places you would
protected.
think they would harbor them,
Exactly.
Miami would be up there.
Yeah, talk about a what is it? What are they called again? Not a tent city. What do they call those cities?
Banana Republic.
No. Where they harbor they harbor illegal immigrants.
What do you mean? Sanctuary cities?
Sanctuary city. A sanctuary city for criminals. I mean, like.
Well, that's how I think of Ziohel. It's a sanctuary nation for pederasties and grapists.
Exactly. America does not do Britain's political dirty work. Ooh, man, this lawyer really is a piece of work.
But it also goes to the point where people were saying, like, I mean, we do need to distinguish what it would be like for them maybe in prison in the UK versus here. I don't really know. I do know that where Assange was being held was horrible.
Oh, yeah.
So I'm not going to necessarily think that UK prisons are somehow nicer. I don't know.
Would you please?
In 2024, Bedfordshire police secured European arrest warrants for the pair to have them returned from Romania, where they are based and under criminal investigation. In June, the brothers lost a legal bid to be told the names of their UK accusers after the CPS decided it was necessary to withhold the names of their alleged victims until legal action formally started.
Okay, can we just pause right there? Can you could you even imagine? I mean, first of all, you've dealt with Jane Doe cases, and
yes.
Is there any doubt that if they were able to get their names, what type of threats would have been levied at them for speaking out against these guys?
Well, it's that, but it's also depending on the age of them, right?
Well,
like
one of them for sure is underage. We know that.
Well, they were at the time, and they aren't now, most likely. And
Right.
so, and I do not know the UK laws regarding that, like what their rape victim shield laws are and how they work. So I can't really comment on what that looks like.
Lawyer Matt Jury, who represents several alleged British victims of Andrew Tate, welcomed the charges and said Andrew and Tristan Tate are accused of some of the most serious offenses, including multiple counts of rape and human trafficking. It is time they face justice. Yes, it is. Now, will they get it is the big question. We will see. I think that there is so much against them at this point that they're not going to get out of it unless
they hand over somebody bigger and better, right?
That's the whole point. That is the only possibility.
And that person who's bigger and better will see to it that those two don't ever speak again, which is why I don't see how they survive, well, this entire proceeding. Because there's definitely bigger fish to fry than those fuckheads.
Yeah, and like if there ever is a situation,
those guys are small potatoes.
Well, how would you see this unfolding? Them getting shanked or them hanging themselves in their prison cell?
Oh, I see them getting Epsteined. I mean,
okay,
I don't.
So they'll hang themselves in their jail cell. Wink, wink.
Well, maybe one will go one way and one will go another. Let's not forget that there's, again, I don't know the incarceration situation over in the UK, but I'm going to assume that regarding how they feel about child traffickers probably isn't that different than our prison population here. And those people are not treated well because, believe it or not, there's honor among thieves. There is. There's honor among thieves, and there's a very big difference between certain types of crimes and the people that commit them. And like so people like this piece of shit are not going to do well amongst the rest of the prison population because the majority of the prison population isn't that.
Guys that commit felony assault, guys that do armed robbery, that is a completely different type of crime than being a child molester, being a rapist.
It's a punching down thing. Yeah. It's about, there is honor amongst thieves in that it's about people that pick on people that have less strength and are weaker than them. And that is just, it's not well regarded in many prison populations because a lot of the people there, they did what they did for whatever reason they did it, but it wasn't necessarily picking on the most vulnerable person that they know. So there is a difference.
Bottom line, play stupid games, win stupid prizes. The Tate brothers could not have been taken out in a more embarrassing fashion. Hopefully, this is the last we will have to hear of their bullshit. And here's the other thing, and let's conclude on this note. Do you really think that there's only 7 victims? There's probably 70 victims.
David Hunter, when you say he knows how to fight, not sure he'll be someone's bitch. Well, it works that way, except for that prisons are completely gang controlled. So it isn't a matter of whether or not he's capable of fighting one person. It's a matter of if he's capable of fighting everybody on his wing.
Yeah, he can't fight 5 people at once because that's
the problem.
And
so
even,
I get it. Yeah.
And even though he is martial arts trained, he's also a relatively
Colin, is it me or Peter that's having
some
issues?
of the other?
That's Peter.
Okay, Peter, you're breaking up. You've been breaking up. You're frozen. Okay, so I don't know what's happening here with this. Peter is frozen. There we go. Don't know what happened there, guys. So are you back? You don't seem back yet. I don't see you yet. Yeah, I don't know what's going on. Yeah, Peter is very choppy. I don't know why he's there. Anywho, he'll have to go in and come back, guys. So yeah, he got. I don't know enough about the Tate brothers. I don't, because these are people that I've never had any interest. I wouldn't even know these people exist if it weren't for Peter pointing it out and wanting to talk about these people to me. It's definitely not my thing, for sure. Any of these these misogynistic, it's pathetic that we've reached a point where there's such an attraction to that. That's what we need to be focused on. Why are there so many men that find those men as appealing role models? I mean, that's really the issue. That's what we need to be seriously considering, is why are there so many men that look to people like that as some sort of helper or inspiration? That's really where our issue is. Just saying, you're leaving me when you're talking about somebody that I do not know much about, or honestly, I really don't care about the Tate brothers. I really don't care.
Is that better?
Well, you're not breaking up and you're not frozen. So yeah.
Good. Well, we couldn't leave without covering one Zio Hunter story, because that would be just a complete miss on our part. Now, of course, while the World Cup was going on, everybody was being, I guess, distracted, if you will, from what was really going on the ground in Gaza. This is one of the instances that took place that has gone viral, and it is a prime example of what these land grabs look like in real time. Now, what you have to understand about this settler here is that he has a loaded firearm, and he is telling the Palestinians that have owned this land for multiple generations that this is my land now. I'm coming to take this from you. And it's a very simple equation.
It's so tough, right?
Yeah.
That's so tough. You could be so tough when only one side has firearms. How tough, right? As if any of these fucking pussies would have the guts to do anything like this if both sides were armed. That's what's so fucking pathetic, is that this fool would never do that if the other side was armed.
And if you think that that's bad, look at these guys. This is who you're pointing a gun at?
Right.
You're pointing a gun at this guy?
Right. Right.
Get out of here!
When you're putting yourself out there as some sort of soldier for your cause, and you're all and you look in the person that you're holding your gun up against has no weapon, that's a sign. That should be a sign, like a glaring sign that you're not what you think you are. I mean, I understand how you could feel remotely okay. It's just so pathetic.
Casey, he looks like he has red hair. He looks like a ginger. That's what it looks like to me. So in that case, he very much has to be a native to this part of the world. Yeah, just saying.
تعال جاي
Just get that fucking gun out of his hand. We'll see how tough he is.
Every time I see these, I so wish there was a better weapons smuggling situation for Palestinians. I wish that there was somehow a market where they were armed and that they were better able to defend against pieces of shit like this.
Well, let me tell you, the Turks are probably going to be the ones to do it if Israel keeps saber rattling with them and thinks attacking them is going to end well, because it isn't. It'll end very, very badly. And so this particular clip of this Zio bitch is a backdrop to an even bigger problem that has been happening over the weekend, and a new round of what has always been traditionally called mowing the lawn in Gaza on the West Bank.
He hates Israel. I'm good movie, so go. Don't touch me. Don't touch you. I don't touch you. Don't touch me. But do you do a good movie?
Let me tell you, this is one very threatening and intimidating individual, Jen. I mean, it's amazing. A guy like this should never feel a sense of physical empowerment over anybody. But when you are told that you are chosen and that you could do whatever you want, even though he can't probably bench press a wet rag if he tried, it is incredible what being told you are chosen and untouchable can do to somebody when they are trying to do what they're doing.
שלום, אנחנו פה מדברים מישראל, יש פה את הבן אדם ששונא את ישראל ובא והולך, אתה בא והולך אחרי זה שולח סרטונים לכל העולם. למה אתה פה?
Yes, this is what we do. We are exposing you to the entire world, you inbred fuck.
I was about to say, this person has some serious chromosomal abnormalities. I don't know what they are, but something isn't right. Or fetal alcohol syndrome, potentially. I don't know. Something is not right.
Fetal alcohol syndrome is traditionally when the physical features are like this, like a big upper lip. There's just different things.
No, it's like how the huge forehead, the separated eyes. I don't know. There's definitely some chromosomal shit happening here.
Now, let's be honest. With the way he looks, I mean, he could be the offspring of, Schmutzy. He really does have that look.
Gross.
Well, of course.
Hey.
Yes, the one person you have to remember now, if you look here, Jen, you see, this is who this weasel bitch decided to try to get physical with. He goes over to a guy like this, who's only doing is operating a camera. He's obviously not very physically strong, and so he's going to try to get tough with him. That's what they do. It's very similar to why they attack women and children, because that's the only people that they can feel physically imposing against. There's a lot of...
Let it play. I gotta deal with chickens in a little bit. So.
Hey. There are thousands of Israelis walking at the Gaza border today, accompanied by 9 Israeli ministers out of 24. So almost half of the ministers in the Israeli government are with them trying to set up new settlements in Gaza.
יהיה התיישבות יהודית בכל עזה, ואנחנו חוזרים הביתה. עזה.
And we are coming home. Gaza is ours. How is this guy still alive? I don't understand.
I don't either.
It's not just the fact that he is an absolute war criminal, genocider of the worst kind. He, unlike Netanyahu, is like very much in public. Like he thumbs the eye of everybody. He's like, hey, I'm right here, motherfucker.
Yeah, but they don't have weapons. But they don't have weapons. That's why he's so emboldened. Fucking coward.
God, he's so punchable. Like
all right, let it play. We don't want to watch this much longer.
Jen, could you, like, I'll deal with Gavir, you can deal with Vice?
There's nothing for me to deal with her. She's a psycho. She's a psychopathic person. These are not humans. They're just not. They lack all empathy. They lack all concept of reason. And these people need to be eliminated. These people cannot be reasoned with, and these people are not capable of coexisting peacefully on the planet with the rest of us. And therefore, it is incumbent upon the rest of us to eliminate the threat to global peace. These are the people that are the problem.
Mary, I am never going to get that out of my head, and I definitely agree. Well, first of all, he's not white. So whatever he is, Ben Gavir does look like Grimace. Can you see that, Jen?
I guess. It's kind of sad for Grimace.
Yeah, I know, but it's true.
So essentially, the settler movement is doing everything to move into the Gaza Strip and to settle there, to conquer living space and rid Gaza of what they see as subhuman population. That sounds familiar to me.
Mize! Oh! Ah! So yalla!
You don't understand, dude. If I was there and you put your hands on me like that, I would be pounding your fucking skull into the pavement until you blow.
But then you get shot by the IOF, and that's what keeps happening. So yes, you think you want to do that, but then right behind this guy, like a couple blocks down, is some sort of, group of troops that will then come over and they'll shoot you. That's how this happens. So these guys know that they can't fight back. They can't fight back.
Well,
I'm just saying, you say you would fight back, but you can't. There it is.
תסתכל אחי, לפני שבוע בחברון הוא בא ועשה פרובוקציות, תסתכל. אתה רואה שזה בן אדם אחר? זה הוא. אחי, בוא תסתכל שהוא בצעדות של חמאס. זה הבן...
So what happens is the IOF comes over, and instead of enforcing any sort of concept of law, because let's be real, there's no laws there. It's a completely rogue nation. They just then shoot and kill the Palestinians. So there is no fighting back.
We'll leave on this note. This is something from Israeli legislators. Apparently, there are very concerned people about what's coming for their country.
Grupo de autodenominados legisladores del moderno Estado de Israel, conducidos por el nazi genocida hijo de del muerto de Netanyahu, aprobaron como ley, una ley, que les permite matar palestinos. Y es una ley que dice que los prisioneros palestinos pueden ser ejecutados con pena de muerte. Entonces nosotros podríamos decir, bueno, qué sé yo, los que estén purgando condena en la Argentina pueden ser condenados a pena de muerte por su origen étnico-religioso.
Oh, so my apologies. I think that this is actually related to Argentina, because of the problems that they're facing now with Milei and the fact that Israel is basically infiltrating and settling in their country. So they have a very big problem with this. Who the hell wouldn't? And we saw a lot of, listen, to be fair, there were a number of Argentinian football supporters that were for free Palestine. They were not there supporting Israel. And yes, a lot of it was skin tone, financial. You could tell who had money and who didn't. A lot, again, most of it it's a class war. But there is no question that the Argentinians, that there are people in positions of authority that are very concerned about what's happening now, because they now understand.
But I mean, it just don't play. I mean, it's just Spanish. We're not going to have the translate. I mean, people that are listening aren't going to get this.
Well, there is the thing called.
Okay, but it looks like it's sports talk. But okay, go ahead.
Los pelados, mañana los italianos, pasado los bolivianos, los peruanos, los españoles, ¿por qué no? Obviamente, la respuesta debe ser la aniquilación.
There it is. The answer must be the annihilation of Netanyahu's Nazi Zionism. But here's the thing. And apparently, Israel has upcoming elections. At the end of the day, It is not a Netanyahu problem. This is a Zionism problem, period. And whoever Israel ends up electing, even if there is a possibility that Netanyahu is going to be taken out of power, whoever's coming next is going to be just as bad. In fact, there are probably people within the Zionist movement who actually think that if they just pull Netanyahu out of the equation, that things will simmer down and we can get back to doing all the bad shit we're doing. No, do not be fooled. Do not be distracted. Stay on course. We got this. We want to thank you all for tuning in this evening. It has been fun, lively. I hope you enjoyed it, Jen.
Of course. I love Kshama.
How could you not? So with that being said, smash that like button, share, subscribe, do all those things we ask you to do. We love you all. We appreciate you all. Support Kshama Sawant for Congress. And
Free Palestine.
Good night, guys.